Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats, part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name's Jake, and I'm joined in the virtual studio by Sambo and Johnny. How are you, chaps?
Doing well.
Pretty good.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Short and sweet.
Love to hear it, chaps. Yeah.
How
All
are
right,
you?
thanks. That's enough of the show. We're out. All done. No, on the show tonight, chat.
Oh,
We
don't
are
answer me,
looking
man.
at Cat. No
Okay,
need
it's
to.
fine.
Everyone knows I'm fantastic.
No need to.
I'm delicious.
That's good.
Cats v Kangaroos, round 5 recap
Sure.
is what we're going to be diving into in the public part of the show. Then for the Patreon subscribers, we're going to duck behind the Patreon curtain and deliver our weekly Patreon match predictions. So if you want to get that part of the show, go on over and start your free trial on the Hoops Crew Patreon channel. You get early access to episodes of Behind the Play interview shows. You get extended versions of these podcasts. You get patron exclusive Wednesday news shows, as well as VFL men's and women's coverage, and other cool things are in the works. So let's get into it, chaps. Cats v the Kangaroos, round 5. We're currently 4-0, and I want to start the preview tonight by asking you guys a question. Can the Cats claim a 5th win from 5 games?
I'd say yes. Yes, we can and should.
If we don't.
Obviously going in against Kangaroos, who are as yet winless. It's a tough one. It's even hard to sell this as like, oh, it's a trap game. Like, I know it's footy and anything can happen and anything can happen. But from like my point of view, my biggest fear is that not even the biggest fear. It's like my worst case scenario is it's like much closer and I have to deal with a week of people going, oh, we're shot. We're not actually a good team if
Couldn't
it's,
even put them
within
away
5
by 100
goals or
points.
something. Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
Oh,
I don't
Or
know.
we do a heap
I don't
of
know what to
injuries.
sell here.
no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's also would be a worst case scenario.
Yeah, it's a tough one to sell. It's on a Sunday, 1 p.m. Family friendly, as they were saying on the older radio. Yeah, it's one of those games that I think will be. It could either go two ways. Either North Melbourne show up, give the Cats a almighty scare for a few quarters, and then the Cats run away with it, or the Cats just blow them out of the water early. I mean, it is Reece Stanley's 200th game, so another milestone. Yeah, it's as you said, it's not an exciting game like the next 3 coming up. Because as you say, it's only North Melbourne who's haven't won a game yet. They're still really young, still building, still trying to find their system, their style, their culture, and whatnot. And also, that they got a pretty lowly defense core there as well. So it's going to be tough to stop Hawkins, Cameron, Tyson, Oliver, Close, Brian Myers. But yeah, not expecting a lot.
It's kind of interesting looking back at their games this season so far. They've played just the 4 games like we have. They lost 121 to 82 to GWS back in round 1. They followed that up with a 26-point loss to Fremantle, 56-point loss to Carlton, and then last week got beaten by 70 points to Brisbane. So in some ways it's almost gotten worse over the last 2 weeks. They were relatively, 39-point loss to the Giants in week 1 and just the 26 points to Freo. But then, you get hammered back-to-back weeks and the hammering sort of got worse. They've got a potentially winnable couple of games the next 2 weeks against Hawthorn and Adelaide after the Cats. It's tough because you don't really want to take anyone for granted, but I have to be honest, it's hard to see any other result really here from a Geelong win, and why would we, be looking for any other result than that? So let's move on to something that's perhaps a
Exactly.
little more interesting, and that's team selection, chaps, because we've got the initial squad. We'll actually get we'll get the full official team when we go. Where is it? Where we'll get the team? When did they say? 5 p.m. Friday.
Normally,
So the current
yeah,
squad
Friday.
is the same as last week, but we also add in Connor O'Sullivan. Now it's being advertised on the Cats Twitter and website as Connor O'Sullivan to debut. So, you can draw from that he will play. My vote would be that Jake Kolodjasny comes out for a spell ahead of these games against, Brisbane, Carlton, Melbourne, and Port Adelaide. What about you, chaps? No mention of Dangerfield at the moment.
Yep.
Being included in the squad. Sean Manor and Shannon Neal are named as part of that extended interchange. Any sort of thoughts on Connor O'Sullivan, potentially making that debut?
Yeah, pretty exciting for him. Pick number 11 this year, was it? Or last year in the
I think
draft, I
that's about right.
believe. So yeah, I think
Mm.
it's good to see him getting a chance. Why not bring him in against North Melbourne? Again, it's don't want to say they're terrible, but it's tough when they haven't been playing that great. Um,
Mm.
But yeah, I think this is a good game for him to come in and just get a sense of the AFL level and what it's all about. And yeah, go for it. I feel like, as you were saying, Mej, all through the draft and after the Cats drafted him, how he reminds you of Mark Blixev. So it's a pretty exciting prospect if he can play like Mark, which is big shoes to fill and a big step to take. But if he has similar
Mm.
attributes as Mark, it's going to be exciting to see him pulling the hoops for the first time and do that in. I'm assuming he'd play roughly defensive area. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it
I
and
would imagine.
hope he has a good game.
Yeah, I think that'd give him a bit of a specialized sort of role, to go down back. He's played a little bit all over the place in VFL, but mainly down back. I was watching the 2023 O&M Grand Final for fun the other day, and he bobs up and kicks a goal in the last quarter for the Albury Tigers. So he's definitely got some versatility to his game. Sambo, any thoughts on Connor O'Sullivan, or perhaps more importantly, players you'd like to see rested? With Shannon Neal in the squad, would you be in favour of giving Tom Hawkins a week off, or who would you like to see get that rest?
I mean, like you said, Collar. If we're looking the back line, Collar could do a rest. I still am unconvinced that Stewart didn't have some sort of niggle towards the end of the Bulldogs game. He definitely pulled up a couple of times. Again, even when just watching the highlights
Mm.
packages, towards the ends of some of the highlights, you'd go, yeah, that just didn't look normal. So if you're going to rest Stewart at any point, now would seem like an appropriate time. But I think it was you during the game, John, that was saying that you can't imagine them being able to drag Stewart off the field
Yeah.
while he's legally and physically able to be on the field.
Mm.
I don't think that would happen. But Hawkins is despite me having him featured in our Patreon uh, forecasting of who'll get the stats. I do have him in there, but I think it's a tough one because it's an obvious game to rest him, but also it'd be an obvious game to give him a bit of confidence back after he had a bit of a you know
Mm.
bit of a dry spell against the Dogs. He couldn't really get anything going. He possibly looked like he maybe pulled up sharp a couple of times. If that's the case, maybe rest him. But if he's fully fit and healthy, and it was just just an off night, and the way the Dogs were able to hold him, I'd encourage probably to leave him out there. let him kick an absolute bag and, and build his confidence back up.
I was
Mm.
I was listening to the official Cats podcast about this very thing about Tom Hawkins, and they were saying that they're basically aiming to have him play his game-breaking game, like records games played for the Cats at Kardinia Park. So they've only got a limited amount of games that they can rest him. So I'm not sure if this week is one where they time it right, they can rest him and he can play his 357th or 358th at Kardinia Park. So I think that's the one they've most likely be considering as well. So if that is a case that if he does have a rest this week and he misses that playing at home, I don't think they would would take that opportunity to rest him and potentially have him miss 357 at Kardinia Park.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I think I'll handball one of these to each of you. First off, Johnny, no Patrick Dangerfield in the side. Do you think it's the right decision to give him the extra week off?
Yeah, I think so. I think the midfield's doing really well without him there. They've stood up exceptionally well against the Bulldogs under very, tough opposition and against, a very potent Dogs midfield, and they still were able to get that win. So I don't think there's any issue with Dangerfield resting, and we'd rather have him fully fit and firing to go against, I think it's Brisbane next week, rather than risk him getting re-injured again. And as we all know, the Cats are very cautious about that. So no stress from my end. And one I think we did talk about on the recap, saying if he's not, he might as well just rest him again, give him that extra week.
All right, I'll handball the second one to you, Sambo. No Gary Rowan. One, are you happy for them to give Rowan the extra week? And two, who the hell makes way for him to get back in the side when he's healthy?
I mean,
This was all the rage on Twitter.
well, I think that I am happy for him to get the extra week off, as similar to Dangerfield, give them as much time as they need. It's a bit of a trickier one with Rowan, I suppose, because I mean, Dangerfield's the captain. Dangerfield's Dangerfield. He's not really going to fight for a spot, so it doesn't sort of matter how many weeks he has and who's playing how good. I think his spot is not one that's going to be ever really in question or in doubt. The difficulty I think that arises from giving Rowan an extra week off is it's giving further chance for more people to look really good against an opposition that may potentially give some of the younger guys an opportunity to shine a little bit. It could make that choice even harder. And it's also a tough one. I agree that it's when the games don't mean a lot, it's a good idea to because it's early in the season and all that kind of stuff. It's a good idea to rest players when you can. But it's also true that when coming back from an injury, you don't always necessarily come out flying on your first one back. So I could also see an argument for playing them even half a game had they selected Rowan and or Dangerfield and given them a light run in this game to give them a bit of an ease back into AFL football, especially Rowan, who's had a bit of a longer break. Dangerfield obviously has actually played this season, so I don't think he's going to be as rusty, but you can certainly see a scenario where, Rowan could be played against Brisbane next week. And it could take him a while to adjust to that. So I think had they given him a run this week, I think it probably, was he fit? I think basically it's not either he's not fit, don't play him, or he's fit, do play him. I think there's arguments either way, even if he was, not 1000% ready to go. You could give him a little bit of a run, and vice versa. If he is healthy, give him a rest to make sure he's 100% healthy and give the younger guys, a chance for the cream to rise, sort of thing. Because I don't know. I don't have a clear answer on who comes out. Like you said in the chat, Jake, Dempsey kind of looks like an obvious choice, but just in terms of how long he's been in the side, that kind of stuff. But with his actual output, you don't really want to lose him. So I don't yeah, I don't really have a clear answer. I'd obviously love to get Rowan back in there. Um, but I don't have a clear answer, especially because, not to rant too much, but as has been a subject of some coverage throughout the week, is
Mm.
the way Chris Scott lines his team up versus the way they play. Because you don't have to pull
Mm.
Ollie Henry out to put Gary Rowan in. I mean, in any circumstance, you don't
No.
have to do that. But with
No.
specifically, especially with the way Chris Scott does things, the way the spots that the magnets are and the way that where the teams are announced kind of
Mm.
don't mean anything. You know what I mean? He could pull Colin Jasny out and put Gary Rowan in. It doesn't mean Gary Rowan's going down and playing
Yeah.
back for the for the game. It's he's
Mm.
not at all afraid to slide things around and let players move around a little bit. So I don't have I don't have an obvious choice, I suppose.
Mm.
But we don't really have to worry about it for another
It's-
week. So it'll be interesting to see where
No.
our minds are at on this subject after this game.
Well, I watched Chris Scott's press conference for this round, and he talked Gary Rowan,
Mhm.
and he's definitely playing this week in the VFL. He said he's
Okay.
definitely playing. He said the reason why he's
Interesting.
playing VFL is because he hasn't played any practice matches or sim matches, so he hasn't got the fitness up to AFL level yet, and he's not sure if he's, up to that, back up to that
Mm.
level where he can compete fully at AFL level. So they said to bring him in for the VFL this weekend and see how he goes, see where his fitness level is at, where he's, feeling as well. So he's definitely playing. It's just to test how his fitness and how his game style and game awareness is.
I was halfway on the
Sam-
right track then. About
Yeah. You're basically right. I was
Sambo
just going
ready
to
to
say,
watch
yeah. I just thought I better
his first
remember,
VFL
I
game.
watched
yeah.
first VFL game just to assess where
Yeah.
he's at the moment.
Yeah, it's a tough one. People were kind of flying off the handle a bit on Twitter just because, I'd said, oh, Dempsey potentially could be the unlucky one to miss out. And that for me is like, there's no way I want Dempsey pulled from the team. I'm just saying in terms of tenure in the team, he's been in that side the shortest amount of time out of that forward line. I think he's played well enough to hold his spot, but it does depend on what credits, like someone like Rowan has in the bank, how they feel like they structure up with Rowan in or out of the team. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a good problem to have ultimately, to have such competition for spots, especially once you start to imagine the midfield getting healthy with Danger and Guthrie coming back in. Who misses out then? Who gets dropped out of this team? So it's a great problem to have.
It's also just one of those things as well where sometimes the young guys do need a rest as well. Just because they're younger doesn't mean they can play a full season and be impactful for the entire season. And sometimes they might just need a rest when senior guys are ready. And if it helps build the young guys up for finals or helps them get ready for next year, then I'm all for, I will just trust the Cats when they make the decisions that they make, that it's the right one. Because, we're only fans on the outside. We don't know what's going on. Yeah. It's a tough one, though. I don't envy them making those choices.
It's amazing how quickly the tides change. I remember there's some question marks about, Dempsey, is he all that, floating around Twitter, and he plays 4 games and suddenly he's undroppable. I love the fact that he's held his spot. Hope he holds it for 5 games. But like you said, I'm glad I'm not a selector because I don't know how you fit it all in and make it work. There's going to be some really, really unlucky players if this squad gets properly healthy. That's going to be an impossible task. So good options to have if you're a Cats player, if you're a Cats coach. And I think it's also something as we move into what we want to see. And this isn't what I want to see, but just as a side note, it also, I think, increases the likelihood that the Cats don't snooze in this game because there's such competition for places. Everyone will want to keep putting their best foot forward. What do we want to see? I'm going to lead it off here, chaps. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I want to see Connor O'Sullivan debut and just play a solid, rookie game. That doesn't mean he has to do anything exceptional, but just give us some glimpses of, what he might offer at this next level. I think it's a great chance to debut him with all the experience we have around him. I think it'd be a trickier spot to debut a midfielder, for instance, when we're still missing a bit of experience in that area. I think this is a perfect chance. You're slotting him in, to be surrounded by Tom Stewart, Jack Henry, who else plays down back there? Sam De Koning, etc. I think it's a really nice chance for Connor O'Sullivan to come in and have a bit of a safe hit out. And I just can't wait to see him. So that's what I want to see, and I'm going to get to see it. All things being equal. Johnny, what do you want to see?
What do I want to see? Obviously, a good, hard fought win. What do I want to see? I just want to see the Cats get through healthy, unscathed. I want to see, and I would also like to see Sean Manor shed a ball around a bit more. Try not to be so focused on his own game as much as he was in that last game.
Be interesting if he gets a run. Like who comes out for him? Do they give someone like a rest? I don't know. That'll be fascinating to see if they do just switch things around just for the sake of giving some guys some time off. Sambo, what's one thing you want to see?
I'd like to see Tanner Bruin really tear at a new one. He's not a player I talk about a lot. I don't think I have necessarily been on the hype train to the degree that a lot of other people have since he started. I'm not a hater. I'm not against him or anything. I just don't think he's one of those players that's really caught my eye yet. But I think what we have seen this year are really, and as you've talked about, Jake, he's getting close to what we want from him, which is just like 3 to 5 moments a game where you go, oh, there's Bruin doing amazing things, and then about 30 other moments that you don't even notice until you watch the game again or you just read through the stats. And he's just fulfilling his role. That is what I do want, and I think he's moving in those strides. But in a game like this on the weekend, not to disagree with that point that I've just made, that I've just reiterated from you, but I would like to see him really strut his stuff. Like, I think he's got so much potential and he gets so much love. And he does do a really good job at getting to the ball. Like, I think against Brisbane next week, 22 touches and, a few score assists and a few inside 50s. Awesome. He's contributing his role. Against North, I'd kind of like to see him just absolutely be all over it. I'd love to see him be everywhere, sort of, again, putting some credits in the bank with the selectors and the fans, padding his AFL fantasy. I think it's a perfect opportunity for a young player like him to really, not to the point where he's detrimental to the game, as John was just discussing about, Sean Manor, making sure he focuses on his role of the team. But Bruin's a little bit further down the line now. He started showing his ability to contribute to the team, and I would kind of like to see him just sprinkle a little bit of that star power on it, and just kind of do some stuff for the headlines. Again, not every week, not even ever again this season, but this game specifically. I'd really like to kind of have him do one of those games where everyone goes, "Oh, yeah, that guy."
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you saying you'll be the first Cat to reach 30 plus disposals this game, Sam? Is that what you're hoping for?
I would not argue with that at all.
Well, you'd have to find out what Sam does, who Sam does pick for most disposals if you go to Patreon.
That's right.
That's right. That is the end of the public part of the show. We're going to go now and do our Patreon match predictions, as Johnny said. So if you want to do that, that's right, Johnny. Great hand pass here. I'm just going to finish it off in the square. You get extended podcasts, extended video shows, early access to stuff like Behind the Play. You get exclusive VFL men's and women's coverage and exclusive Wednesday news wrap shows. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're following all the good work on the Hoops Crew YouTube channel, on Spotify, and also have yourselves a bloody great weekend. Until next time, go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.